We've got this process in place. It's called the 428. It's a fixed cost estimate process. And I think that's something I'd like to highlight because it's right now we've identified with the Commonwealth and with a lot of the applicants approximately 5,000 of those large fixed cost estimate projects. And the caution I urge is that a project could be as simple as a collection of 25 roads. It could be a school campus. So you might have one project that might have 10 buildings on it, for example. And so what we do is we work with the local government, the applicant, whether it's a community or whether it's a utility like PRAZA or PREPA, we work with them on how the projects and the sites are logically grouped. Because the first step in the process is the applicants identify what's called their damage inventory, and they literally submit that online, and the damage inventory will essentially create a line item. And the local government can submit as many line items as claims as they need. And then as the grant development process matures, we consolidate those line items into projects. But really with public assistance, money is actually the last thing we look at for eligibility purposes. We'll focus on, we've obligated a certain amount of money to applicants to hire their architectural and engineering firms for developing a lot of these more complicated repair and scoping approaches. And so as those architectural engineering results come back, we're going to work with the Core 3 and the applicant to adjust the projects to meet what those specific eligible needs are. Some of the changes and lessons we've learned from past events is increasing our level of flexibility. I think the 428 update and changes gives a flexibility to Puerto Rico that we haven't had in other disasters until very recent. The 428 process is actually being implemented nationwide now. It's going to be an opportunity or an option for those disasters. The flexibility we have now on letting applicants drive their recovery while Core 3 and FEMA support their recovery. Rely on the applicants more to tell us what their needs are. And even with the October 11th deadline that we've been discussing, our leadership has been working with Core 3, and we've been very, very vocal and upfront with them on if you have an applicant with a project that's not going to hit the deadline, let's identify it and determine if and what kind of extension it might need for them to request. We don't want them to tell us they're going to hit October 11th if they're not. So we're working with them on developing realistic time estimates for their projects being submitted. It's much more of a collaborative effort, and in fact, at the end of the day, the bulk of responsibility for recovery is on the locals. And there's a very obvious reason for that. Nobody knows what Ponce needs better, for example, than the leadership of Ponce. And same thing with PRAZA and PREPA and the utility systems. They know what their long-term recovery goals are. And so it should be locally driven with FEMA and Core 3 providing that collaborative assistance. Let the applicants tell us what they want to do and let us work with them to develop a plan on what we can achieve and what we can't.